Hello, welcome back everyone to Actual English. I'm Jennifer Clyde. It's already time for lesson 206 and today's topic is soccer, or also called football. It depends on where you live. It depends on which country you are talking about the sport. Because mostly in America, you would call the sport soccer because we have what's called American football, which is a very different sports game. But in the UK, they do call what we call soccer football. Could be confusing, but you'll get a hang of how to use soccer or football in our actual talk conversation. So how many of you out there are soccer fans? How many of you are looking forward to the coming FIFA World Cup 2014? It's just around the corner, so I'm sure that many of you are very excited. Now, even parents, when they see these wonderful soccer players doing such a great job during the World Cups, they do want their children to grow up to be wonderful or really, skilled soccer players. Or, kids may want to play soccer and be interested in the sport. So often, parents may send their kids to, really enjoy the sport with their friends. When I was in school, I was a part of the soccer team for just a year. This was when I was in middle school. I was a volleyball player, but there were a lot of my friends that really enjoyed playing soccer. I was a very offensive soccer player in school. Anyhow, let's talk about that today. Let's begin with actual talk.
I'm thinking I need to get some more activity and exercise in these days.
Okay.
Maybe there's some sports. How about you? Are you into sports?
Well, for me, nothing compares to a game of football or soccer, as many North Americans know it. It's the best way to exercise, the best way to spend time watching a game. I even play it on some games consoles as well. I recommend that wholeheartedly to anyone, man, woman, or child.
So you watch it and you play the game,
I used
but
to work in the industry as well.
you don't play it.
No, I do play as well. Not so often these days, as you can probably tell, Kelly. I need to shed a few pounds.
No,
but
I
it
don't
is
know.
great exercise. Like,
Yeah,
if you
I
get
bet.
into it, it's 90 minutes of intense aerobic exercise, and you feel absolutely shattered afterwards.
Have a little bit of a secret about football or soccer, as we call it in Canada. I actually enjoy the idea of it, and I've given it a try, but I'm afraid of the ball hitting my face. Like, really afraid of the ball hitting my face.
That is common for all beginners
Is it really?
playing football, yeah, because sometimes they
Nobody
kick
ever
it
talks about it.
up to like 70, 80 miles an hour. If it hits you square on the nose, yeah, I'm not gonna mince my words here. You could break your nose, yeah, for sure.
Whoa.
But that's very rare.
Is
very
it?
rare. Like, I'd say it's never happened to me. Obviously it's maybe hit me on the forehead or the side of the face, but then it just feels like a short, sharp slap. It's not too
People
bad.
make it look like no big deal. It bounces off their head. They look, as part of the game. But that's my thing. I mean, I'd play it, but that's always in the back of my head because I do like sports. Okay, with that in mind, you've given me a little bit of incentive.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll play some football.
Yeah, once you get into
This
it, you'll just
weekend.
roll with the punches. You'll be fine.
All right. Well, if I get hurt, I'm holding you responsible.
Okay.
Well, how did you enjoy the conversation between Peter and Kelly? Now, if you have been listening to or watching our lectures so far, you may have a good idea of how, a sporty person Kelly is. But just by the looks, just by looking at Kelly, she's so slender and thin that many people may say, she doesn't look like a sports person. I'm sure she doesn't like to play sports. But as we can tell from today's conversation, Kelly mentioned that she is very interested in sports. She likes to not only watch sports, but engage in sports activities as well, even soccer, although she does fear getting hit in the face with a soccer ball. Anyhow, let's take a look. Here we go. Now, Kelly says, I'm thinking I need to get some more activity and exercise in these days. Let's take a look at how she's put this. I need to get some activity and exercise in these days. You can simply say, I think I need to exercise more. But this is just a way of saying getting more of something, doing more of something, getting some activities and exercise in these days, meaning including these activities in her life. Maybe through some sports. And then she asks, how about you? Are you into sports? You all know what this means. Are you into something means, are you interested in something? Do you like something? Okay? And then Peter said, well, for me, nothing compares to a game of football or soccer, as many North Americans know it. Okay, let's take a look at this sentence. Are you familiar with the song? It's by Sinead O'Connor. It's a very old song. Nothing compares to you. Now, what does that song mean? Or what does nothing compares to something mean? If you say that something, okay, let's say this program, okay, with hopes, nothing compares to actual English. What I mean by that is no other program is better than actual English. If I say nothing compares to you, just like the title of that song, it means no one is better than you. You are the best. Simply put, that person is the best or that thing is the best. In this case, he says nothing compares to a game of football or soccer. So, that's the subject there. Nothing compares to soccer. He's saying no other sport is better than soccer. Soccer is the best, okay? And then he says, as many North Americans know it or call it. He's saying football is a term mostly used in the UK, but soccer is a term used by many North Americans. And then he says it's the best way to exercise, the best way to spend time watching a game. So not only is it great exercise, it's also a great way to spend time watching a game. He says, I even play it on some game consoles as well. So, I think we often say console, okay? The pronunciation is console. The stress goes on the first syllable. We're talking about these machines, devices or machines. There are handheld consoles, but usually video game consoles are machines that are made specifically to play video games on a separate, perhaps monitor or a separate television set. I'm sure you know what that means. We'll go over the pronunciation of console later on. The point is, he even plays soccer games on these consoles. I recommend that wholeheartedly to anyone, whether it's a man or a woman or a child. So he strongly recommends soccer. He strongly recommends that people try the sport, try playing it. Now, the word wholeheartedly is one of our vocab words. Wholeheartedly. Okay, whole means what? The complete something, a whole of something, 100% of something. And heart, think of your heart. So if you say wholeheartedly, you are saying sincerely, with enthusiasm, completely. So he's saying, I recommend that completely, with enthusiasm, with 100%, positive mind that people will enjoy it, that anyone could play soccer and enjoy it, man, woman, or child. So Kelly says, so you watch it and you play the game, but, now Peter cut her off and he says, yeah, I used to work in the industry, in the sports industry possibly, and he says, I do play as well. Here, he's not talking about playing video games, but he's talking about actually playing the sport himself, getting out there and running around and kicking the ball. He says, not so often these days, okay? Not as often or not so often these days. And he says, as you can probably tell. What does he mean by this? As you can tell, as you can tell, as you can see. He's saying it's obvious to the eye. He's saying, well, look at me. I need to shed a few pounds. Shed has several different definitions. They all have similar meanings, but for example, you could shed hair. It means to fall off or drop off. Now, a tree can shed leaves. It means that leaves fall off as well. If you shed pounds or weight, it means to lose. So he's saying, I need to lose a few pounds. I need to shed a few pounds, meaning I'm overweight, so it's obvious that I need to exercise. Not so often these days do I play soccer, as you can probably tell. Why? Because I'm overweight or I need to shed or lose a few pounds. Okay, and then moving on. Kelly tries to be kind. She says, well, no, I don't know. Now, Peter says, but it is great exercise. If you get into it, get into something. We're not actually talking about going inside, but here, as she asked, are you into sports? Are you into soccer? Meaning, are you interested in? Do you enjoy soccer? So he's saying it is great exercise if you get into the sport. If you really, really get into the sport, meaning enjoy the sport to the fullest. Okay? And then he says it's 90 minutes of intense aerobic exercise and you feel absolutely shattered afterwards. So he's talking about how soccer is a good workout. It's a good exercise, a great exercise. Why? Because it's 90 minutes, not an hour, but 90 minutes of intense aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise, we're talking about running around, okay? Now, intense means what? Intense means strong. We're talking about extreme force or an extreme amount of something as well. So here he's saying that it's extreme exercise, a really, really good exercise, and you feel absolutely 100% shattered afterwards. Now, let's take a look at the word shatter. S-H-A-T-T-E-R. I'll give you an example. Let's say, I shattered the window. What does that mean? I shattered the window means I broke the window into small pieces. Okay? So if you destroy something by breaking it especially into small pieces, you can say that you shattered something. But in this case, he's not saying that he broke something. He's saying that he feels shattered afterwards, meaning he feels shattered after playing soccer. In this case, he means that he feels broken down, meaning very exhausted and very tired. Okay? All right, let's move on. Now, Kelly says, I have a little bit of a secret. Let's find out what that secret is. About football or soccer, as we call it in Canada. So even in Canada, they call it what? Soccer. I actually enjoy the idea of it. So she enjoys soccer, or she enjoys the idea of playing it. And I've given it a try. If you give something a try, it means you actually try it. Okay, you experience it. So she says, I like the idea of playing soccer and I've given it a try. I've tried playing soccer, but I'm afraid of the ball hitting my face. So this is what she is afraid of. So, I guess you could be afraid of getting hit by the ball, especially in the face, because you could break a nose, for example. As I told you, I played volleyball when I was in middle and high school. I was on the school volleyball team. We would often get smashed in the face with the volleyball, and that really hurts. And you really could get hurt. So that is what she is afraid of. She's afraid of getting hurt by getting hit in the face with the soccer ball. Now, what's his name? Peter says, that is common for all beginners playing football. It's common. Hey, it happens, he says. And then she says, is it really? Is it really common? Do people really get hit in the face with the ball? And he says, yeah, because sometimes they kick it meaning the soccer ball, up to like 70 to 80 miles an hour. Now he's talking about the speed. So let's say 70 miles per hour. We're talking about miles per hour. Okay, so he's just talking about how fast the ball moves when the hitter kicks the ball. So the soccer ball could be hit or kicked at that rate, at that speed. And if it hits you square on the nose, what does that mean? Square on the nose. Take a wild guess. Square on the nose. If the ball hits you square on the nose, it means right on the nose, exactly on the nose. Yep, I'm not going to mince my words here. The point is what? You could break your nose for sure. For sure meaning without a doubt, 100%. So let's take a look at this sentence. From here to the end, right here. If the ball hits you square on the nose, right in the nose, I'm not going to mince my words here. What does he mean by I'm not going to mince my words here? Mince is a word that you would often come across when you're looking through a recipe, when you're looking through a cookbook, when you're talking about cooking, how to cook certain dishes. We often say minced garlic, which means chopped garlic, or mince the cucumbers, which means to cut the cucumbers into very small pieces, okay? So that is what mince means in most cases, but here, mince one's words, okay? Not mince your words means to be very frank, very direct, but he says, I am not going to mince my words. He means I'm not going to cut my words. I'm not going to soften it. I'm not going to moderate it. Okay, I'm not going to be polite. That's what he is saying. He's saying, I'm going to be honest with you and blunt with you and direct with you. You could break your nose for sure. So he's saying, honestly, you could break your nose. Moving on. Now, of course, Kelly says, whoa. Now, Peter says, but that's very rare. It's rare. It doesn't happen that commonly. It's never happened to me. And he says, you know, it's maybe hit me in the forehead. You can say on the forehead as well. We're talking about the ball, the soccer ball, or the side of the face. But then it just feels like a short, sharp slap. It's not too bad. So here, it's not too bad. He means the pain is not that bad. It's not that painful. He's saying that it's really never happened to him. He's never gotten hit right on the nose with a soccer ball, but he has been hit in the forehead or on the side of his face. Okay, let's move on. Now, Kelly says, people make it look like no big deal. Oh, it's no big deal. It's no big problem. It bounces off their head. It hits your head and it bounces off. And she says, but I mean, I would play it, but that's always in the back of my head. What is in the back of her head? The thought of getting hit with a soccer ball in the face is constantly something that is in the back of her head. It means that she's constantly thinking about something. She can't erase that thought, okay? Okay, with that in mind, you've given me a little bit of incentive, meaning perhaps some courage to play the game. Maybe I'll play some football or soccer this weekend, she says. And of course, I guess that brings us to an end, but here, slightly more. Once you get into it, you'll just roll with the punches and you'll be fine. That's our last pattern for today. Roll with the punches. This means to be able to deal with a difficult event or difficult situation once you actually engage in something, okay? So you may be afraid to do something, but once you try it, hey, you'll get over it. You'll be able to just, go through it without difficulty. And she says, well, if I get hurt, I'm holding you responsible, meaning I'm going to put the blame on you. Okay, let's take a listen one more time.
I'm thinking I need to get some more activity and exercise in these days.
Okay.
Maybe through some sports. How about you? Are you into sports?
Well, for me, nothing compares to a game of football or soccer, as many North Americans know it. It's the best way to exercise, the best way to spend time watching a game. I even play it on some games consoles as well. I recommend that wholeheartedly to anyone, man, woman, or child.
So you watch it and you play the game,
I used
but
to work in the industry as well.
you don't play it.
No, I do play as well. Not so often these days, as you can probably tell, Kelly. I need to shed a few pounds. But it is great exercise. Like, if you get into it, it's 90 minutes of intense aerobic exercise, and you feel absolutely shattered afterwards.
Have a little bit of a secret about football or soccer, as we call it in Canada. I actually enjoy the idea of it, and I've given it a try, but I'm afraid of the ball hitting my face. Like, really afraid of the ball hitting my face.
That is common for all beginners playing football, yeah, because sometimes
nobody ever talks about it.
Up to like 70, 80 miles an hour. If it hits you square on the nose, yeah, I'm not gonna mince my words here. You could break your nose, yeah, for sure.
Whoa.
But that's very rare. Rare. Like, I'd say it's never happened to me. You know, obviously it's maybe hit me on the forehead or the side of the face, but then it just feels like a short, sharp slap. It's not too bad.
Make it look like no big deal. It bounces off their head. They look, as part of the game. But that's my thing. I mean, I'd play it, but that's always in the back of my head because I do like sports. Okay, with that in mind, you've given me a little bit of incentive. Yeah. Maybe I'll play some football.
Yeah, once you get into it, you'll just roll with the punches. You'll be fine.
All right. Well, if I get hurt, I'm holding you responsible.
Okay.
It's time for actual expressions, and I have taken up a lot of time with actual talk, so let's quickly go through these 3 words. Intense. Synonyms: extreme or even great. We're talking about the great force or amount of something. Shatter means to break or even weaken. And we're talking about how you can feel shattered, meaning feel very weak, exhausted. What about mince? Mince usually means to cut into small pieces, but today we were talking about mincing words. So means soften or to moderate. Let's move on to today's patterns then. The first one is nothing compares to. This is easy, okay? Let's check out a sample sentence. Nothing compares to a nice cold shower after a good workout. So what's the point in this sentence? Nothing is better than a nice cold shower after a good workout. The best thing after a good workout is a nice cold shower, okay? Moving on. In the back of one's head or in the back of one's mind. Usually you may intend to do something, but you do it without actually thinking about doing something. Or you may have a constant thought about something in your head. So here is a sample sentence. It's been in the back of my mind. What has been? To call the cleaners, but I've just been so lazy. So we're saying that perhaps you intended to call the cleaners, but you haven't really actively done it, okay? Or you can say you're constantly thinking about calling the cleaners, but you've been too lazy and you have not called the cleaners, okay? One final one quickly, roll with the punches. We're talking about adjusting to difficult situations or events by actually taking part in an activity or as the event happens. She was afraid to sing before a huge crowd. What's the problem? Afraid to sing. But she got up on stage and rolled with the punches. So as the event started or happened, well, you deal with that event or the difficulties of the event almost automatically or naturally. So please do make use of roll with the punches. You'll hear it quite commonly. All right, everyone, job well done.
So football is not one of the most popular sports in America, or I really should say soccer, because in America we don't call it football, we have American football. But every 4 years, all eyes turn to the World Cup, even in America. It's one of the most exciting times for all of us really in sports. In 2010, I remember going to City Hall and watching it on this just massively big screen. It was a lot of fun. It was really early in the morning. And unfortunately, this year too, I looked at the time schedule. The games are 1 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m. So I'm going to have to completely rearrange my schedule just to watch it. I'm looking forward to watching both Korea and the United States in them. They're both going to be really exciting to watch. I can't wait for it.
We had Alex helping us out with today's topic, soccer that is, and he automatically talked about the World Cup, so let's take you straight into it. Here we go. He said every 4 years, we're talking about a repetition, something that happens every 4 years, all eyes turn to the World Cup. If you see all eyes turn to something, you're saying that people focus their attention on something. Everybody's thinking about the World Cup. All their attention is on the World Cup. In 2010, 4 years ago, it was really early in the morning. And unfortunately, this year too. That's right. I know we're all going to have to wake up early. And he says, I'm going to have to completely, 100%, entirely arrange again, my schedule. Why? Just to watch it. So he's talking about having to reschedule everything in order to watch the FIFA World Cup soccer games. Okay, and that about does it for today's actual story. Job well done.
So football is not one of the most popular sports in America. Or I really should say soccer, because in America we don't call it football. We have American football. But every 4 years, all eyes turn to the World Cup, even in America. It's one of the most exciting times for all of us, really, in sports. In 2010, I remember going to City Hall and watching it on this massively big screen. It was a lot of fun. It was really early in the morning. And unfortunately, this year, too, I looked at the time schedule. The games are 1 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m. So I'm going to have to completely rearrange my schedule just to watch it. I'm looking forward to watching both Korea and the United States in them. They're both going to be really exciting to watch. I can't wait for it.
I bet it was really difficult not to talk about the FIFA World Cup, talking about soccer or football as they call it in the UK. But, as Kelly did mention, girls could be afraid of playing soccer because, it's painful when you get hit by a ball, especially in the face, whether it's on the side of your face, in the forehead, or straight on the nose or square on the nose. But it's a sport that anyone can enjoy, so get out there on a nice weekend perhaps with a soccer ball and play with your friends or even your children. I'm sure you will have a great time. So today we talked about soccer. Next time we'll move on and focus more on the FIFA World Cup games. It was very difficult not to talk about that. So that is to come next time. Please do tune in for that. In the meantime, feel more than welcome to come to our homepage, everyone. Come on over to www.ebse.co.kr. Look for Actual English with Jennifer and post your comments as always. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you again next time. Until then, take care and bye for now.